This paper is doing a highly controlled analysis of two hospitalized patients where they're evaluating chlorhexidine mouthwash at a 0.12% concentration in 15 milliliters. In their study, they evaluated the viral dynamics in various body fluids, such as doing a nasopharyngeal swab, so a nose swab, an oropharynx swab, so a throat swab, and they also collected saliva, sputum, which is what you cough up, and then urine specimens. More relevant to the mouthwash study that they performed in this, they did additional saliva samples taken at 1 hour, 2 hour, and 4 hours after using a chlorhexidine mouthwash, where again they used a 15 milliliter solution of it and they only swished for 30 seconds. They did not perform gargling in this study, and they did this test on hospitalization days 3 and 6. In this study, viral load was determined by real-time reverse transcriptase PCR, and very interestingly, the viral load was highest in the nasopharynx, so in the nose, but it was also remarkably high in the saliva. And their major finding with the mouthwash aspect is that the viral load in the saliva decreased transiently for 2 hours after using the chlorhexidine mouthwash, meaning that the chlorhexidine mouthwash was effective in reducing COVID viral load in the saliva for a short-term period. And again, this is in COVID-infected individuals, so people that are continuously producing virus. The first patient was a 46-year-old female, and the second patient was a 65-year-old female. And while they don't mention exactly when these patients were admitted, it's sometime in early 2020 or late 2019, where I'd like to take a second to break down this chart. So this dark blue right here is the nose samples, which is showing very high viral loads for the duration of the study, which was 9 days, in addition to sputum samples. So this would be what you sneeze and cough. Those are going to be the most infectious. However, the dark orange right here is saliva samples, and those are also very high. And you're seeing a similar thing with the throat samples. While urine is only high early on, and then it gets below the detection limit after day 3. And before you go running with this information, COVID has mutated and evolved since that period, so these aren't going to be as relevant as they were then, but it gives you a relative sense of what the frequency of infectiousness is for each of these different things. And we see a similar thing in patient 2, very high levels of all the different samples, but then the urine after early on gets below the limit of detection. And then 2 quick asides. So the first thing is that this is why the recommendation is doing the cheek, back of the tongue and throat, and then nasal swabbing all combined because of this high expression in the mouth in addition to in the nose. And doing this combined method has boosted the sensitivity by about 20%. So if you're doing like a 60% sensitive test, that's going to boost it to about 80%. And also, this is a big contribution as to why we see very sharp increases in wastewater signaling when lots of people get infected all at once. That might taper out pretty quickly. It's because you have the urine, you have the fecal matter that is increasing the levels. You also have the vomit, if that's the case. These are all potential sources in the wastewater that can be detected. And that's why wastewater signals are a great early sign of gauging COVID spread in communities. Anyways, back to the chlorhexidine mouthwash. So we have patient 1 and patient 2 at 2 different time points, 2 different days, and what we're seeing is that after taking the mouthwash, so this is before taking the mouthwash, and then after it goes down, and then sustains down for about 2 hours, and then it starts heading back up by hour 4, meaning that the chlorhexidine mouthwash is at least good for 2 hours. It might have some transient lasting effects from hours 2 to 4, but oftentimes those aren't going to be sustained, so we can at least say it's good for 2 hours.